When it comes to faith, it really boils down to a fundamental choice, a fork in the road. And the path you take determines everything. Is your faith going to be a source of true liberation, or has it somehow become a confusing, heavy burden?
But let's be real, for so many people, faith just doesn't feel like freedom, does it? It feels more like you're stuck in this exhausting maze, a massive, complicated labyrinth of rituals and restrictions that completely buries the spirit of the message under a mountain of tiny, insignificant details. So you have to ask, where did all this complexity even come from?
And that's the crazy part, right? Because the Quran is so explicit about its own purpose. It says, right there in black and white, that it came to free people, to lift their burdens, to literally take off the shackles that are holding them down. So how on earth did a message of pure liberation become, for so many, just another heavy chain? Well, the answer has everything to do with what source we're actually following.
Okay, so this is where it gets really crucial. You've got two completely different sources of guidance competing for your attention. On one hand, you have the Quran. It's a single, divinely protected book that says it's complete, it's clear, and it's a direct message from God straight to you. But then on the other hand, you have the Hadith, volumes and volumes of human stories compiled centuries after the fact. It's a collection of hearsay so tangled and contradictory that it requires a so-called complicated science just to try and make sense of it. This isn't a minor difference. It's a fundamental split that creates two totally different religions.
All right, let's dive into what this actually looks like in the real world. We'll start with one of the biggest themes in the entire Quran, the idea of justice, and see how it gets pushed aside for an obsession with tiny, trivial rituals.
I mean, you just can't miss it. When you open the Quran, the call for justice is everywhere. It's repeated over and over, a central, non-negotiable command. It's all about building a fair and equitable society, standing up for the oppressed and making sure there's balance in everything we do. This is the cornerstone of a righteous community. It's the ultimate measure of a society's health. Now, get ready for this because it's absolutely mind-boggling. When you go and look through the major celebrated collections of Hadith, these massive books that supposedly explain the religion, you find nothing. Zero. Not a single dedicated chapter on justice. The central command of the Quran is just gone. It's been completely erased as a core principle. So if we're not talking about justice, the Quran's central theme, what are we talking about? Well, the entire conversation gets hijacked. It's completely sidetracked by an obsession with thousands of trivial and, let's not forget, contradictory rules. Suddenly, the big debate isn't about how to build a just world, but about which foot you should use to step into the bathroom, or what the proper length of a beard is. The grand societal mission of the Quran gets totally lost in this microscopic focus on policing personal habits. And if you want a perfect example of just how deep this rabbit hole of distraction goes, look no further. This single, tiny detail, where you should place your hands during prayer, has generated more than 740 conflicting reports. Think about that. 740 reports arguing about a single physical gesture. This is how a beautiful act of connection with God gets weaponized into a point of division, burying the soul of worship under a mountain of man-made rules. And this whole debate really gets to the heart of what's happened to the concept of Salat, or prayer. In the Quran, Salat is this profound, dynamic thing. It's about your direct personal connection with God, the most important part being your own consciousness. Are you present? Are you sincere? But it's also about our connection to each other. It's a means of supporting one another, of building solidarity, of actually solving our community's problems together. But when you see it through the lens of Hadith, it becomes a rigid, brittle performance. The focus shifts entirely to the exact mechanics, the angle of your bow, the words you recite from memory, instead of the condition of your heart or the state of your community. It's clear. The path of Hadith distracts from the Quran's call for justice and replaces it with empty, hollow rituals. And this massive departure from the Quran's core message, it doesn't stop there. Let's look at the clash between the divine call to use our intellect and the man-made culture of just blindly following. You see, God never, ever asks for blind faith. It's actually the complete opposite. A whopping 49 times the Quran commands us to think, to reflect, to ponder, to use our God-given reason, our aql. God actively criticizes people who just follow their traditions or what their ancestors did without thinking for themselves. And this verse right here, it's like a declaration of independence for your mind. God makes it absolutely crystal clear. You are personally responsible for what you believe. You can't just outsource your thinking to a scholar or a tradition. He gave you eyes, ears, and a mind, and he holds you accountable for using them to find the truth. Just following the crowd is no excuse. And this is where you see this complete 180-degree flip. In the Quran, reason is a divine gift. It's a tool for empowerment and accountability for every single human being. But then in the rare moments you see the concept of aql pop up in the Hadith, it gets twisted into this ugly, misogynistic weapon, used to claim that women are somehow deficient in their intellect. It's a total perversion of the Quran's message, designed to control and oppress. The choice is simple: God-given intellect or man-made dogma. You know, it's incredible. God, in his perfect and eternal knowledge, actually gave us the perfect story to illustrate this exact problem: how humans can take a simple, direct command and turn it into an impossible burden. And that's the parable of the cow. So the story starts with a command from God that couldn't be simpler or clearer: slaughter a cow. Now, this wasn't just some random order. It had a deep spiritual purpose. These people had just been freed from Egypt, a place where the cow was an idol. So this command was really a test of faith, a way for them to metaphorically slaughter the idol inside their own hearts and make a clean break from their past. The point was the act itself, the submission, the liberation.
But did they just do it? Nope. Instead of obeying, they started asking all these needless questions. What kind of cow? So God says one that's not too old, not too young. But that wasn't good enough. They came back again. Okay, but what color is it? God answers, a bright yellow one, pleasing to look at. Still, they hesitated. Can you describe it in more detail for us? We're confused. With every single pointless question, they made the task harder and harder on themselves. Until they had described such a rare and expensive animal, they could barely even find it. They got so obsessed with the details, the color, the age, they completely missed the huge spiritual point of the entire command. And isn't that exactly what we do? That's the trap. When we waste all our time and energy arguing over the 740 different ways to place our hands in prayer, we're just asking, what is the color of the cow? We're letting trivial, man-made details completely distract us from the real goals, having a sincere connection with God and building a just world. We are making our own faith a burden. So, how do we get out of this mess? What's the cure for this self-inflicted confusion? Well, the solution is right there in the divine message itself. The Quran declares over and over that it is perfect, complete, and sufficient. It really lays out the two paths in front of us, and the choice couldn't be clearer. You have the path of the Quran, which leads to liberation, to clarity, and to a society built on justice. And then you have the path of the Hadith, which, with its endless contradictions and human fabrications, has always led to burden, confusion, and tyranny. And look, this isn't just some abstract theoretical debate. These two paths have real, documented consequences in the world. Societies that follow the controlling, oppressive narratives found in the Hadith have, time and time again, produced tyranny, misery, and a deep-seated hatred of women. But the principles found in the Quran, they are the foundation for justice, freedom, and reason. So what's the bottom line here? It's this. God, in his perfect knowledge, designed the Quran to be exactly what he told us it is: complete, clear, fully detailed. It's not some secret code book that you need other books to decipher. It is a direct, powerful, and sufficient message, and it's all the guidance we will ever need. So let's just put it all side by side one last time. The path of the Quran comes from God's direct, protected word. Its focus is on the big things: justice, reason, freedom. And the outcome is personal accountability and liberation. The path of the Hadith, it comes from doubtful human stories. Its focus is on controlling rituals and prohibitions. And the outcome is enslavement to a clergy class. So I'll just leave you with this final question to think about. What kind of freedom, what kind of clarity, and what kind of a just world could we build if we finally decided to trust that God's word is enough? What could we achieve if we return to the source, pure and simple?